Look up, not at the ceiling, at the sky beyond it. That yellow light hitting everything right now, warming the back of your hand, that every single morning for 4.6 billion years without missing once. You have never known a day without it. Neither has anything else alive. And about 700 million years ago, it almost stopped. Not because the sun burned out. The sun was fine. The sun didn't do anything. This is the story of Snowball Earth. And the fact that you exist to hear it, provide light. It drives everything. The winds, the ocean currents, the water cycle, the temperature. The oceans begin to ice over. Within a few thousand years, the entire surface is locked under a shell of ice kilometers thick. That is not a thought experiment. That is what happened. Around 700 million years ago, a combination of factors triggered a chain reaction that no single thing could stop. The continents at the time were clustered near the equator. Equatorial rock weathers faster than polar rock. Weathering pulls carbon dioxide out of the air. Less carbon dioxide means less heat trapped. The planet cools slightly. Ice begins forming at the poles. Here is the part where it becomes a trap with no exit. Ice is white. White reflects sunlight. The more the planet freezes, it has no natural break. Once it starts, it does not stop until something external intervenes. The ice crept down from the poles, past Greenland, past Canada, past where New York would one day exist, past Florida, past the Caribbean, down through Central America, and across South America. It came from both ends simultaneously, moving toward the equator from the north and from the south at once, like two hands closing slowly around the throat of the planet. When they met, the Earth was done. Stand on the equator during Snowball Earth, and you would be standing on something that looked like Antarctica today, except colder. The average surface temperature was around -50 degrees Celsius. The oceans were frozen solid to a depth of over a kilometer in most places. The sky was clear, brutally, searingly clear, because with no liquid water evaporating, there were no clouds, no weather, no rain, no wind worth measuring. Just an endless, silent, frozen stillness under a sun that was still burning, still sending light down faithfully, and watching it bounce off a white planet and disappear. The sun had not gone any lasted for somewhere between 10 and 50 million years, where heat from inside the Earth kept small pockets of liquid water open in the dark. Thin spots in the ice near volcanic activity. They were the last pixels of a dying image. The organisms that made it through were not the strong ones. They were not the complex ones. They were the ones small enough and simple enough to survive on almost nothing, in the dark, for millions of years, waiting for a world that had no reason to come back. And then a volcano saved everything. Volcanoes had been erupting the entire time the Earth was frozen. They always do. But here is the thing about a frozen planet with no rain. Carbon dioxide from volcanic eruptions has nowhere to go. Normally, rain pulls carbon dioxide out of the air through weathering. But there is no rain on a frozen planet. So the carbon dioxide just builds, and builds, and builds. Well, finally, the concentration got high enough to do what the ice albedo feedback loop had done in reverse. A small amount of warmth, a small amount of melting, some of them kilometers thick, melted in what geologists believe was an extraordinarily short window of time, possibly just a few thousand years. Oceans that had been locked solid for tens of millions of years suddenly became liquid, and the water was warm, superheated, not normal rain. Acid rain, intense and constant, hammering a landscape that had been sterile ice for millions of years, suddenly exposing bare rock within it to fill. What followed was the largest evolutionary leap in the history of complex life. Eyes appeared for the first time. Hard shells, limbs, predators, prey. Every insect, every fish, every bird, every mammal carries the inheritance of whatever survived those tens of millions of years of darkness under the ice. But there was a version of this story where the thaw never came, where the carbon dioxide never built up quite enough. That is all that separates the world you are sitting in from a silent, frozen, empty rock orbiting a sun that no one is left to see.